Hello you lovely crafty people, and welcome to the Crafty Purple Frog channel. Today we're going to be going over the Christmas cheer YouTube hop for Sweet November stamps, and I'm going to be making two fun shaker cards for you today using lots of goodies from Sweet November stamps. So first off, we've got this Mistletoe and Holly sequin mix, and then I'm also going to be using the City Christmas mix and these super cute little stamps called Christmas minis. I'm going to be using this old alphabet set die that I've got, and the O was a bit too small for me to be able to use as the shaker, so I've just pulled out these stitched oval dies from Heffy Doodle to use. The letters are very old Stampin' Up dies, so you might need to find some others if you don't have those. They were just a perfect size for these little minis. And as you see, I'm going to be doing two cards today using some gold glitter card that I've just cut out my oval with, and also some silver, which again I've cut the oval out with. I layered up two of them to make that O shape, and I'm just finding some card that matches up with the colours of these cute little images that I've coloured in. I've gone for the snowman and Mrs. Claus, as you can see there, and I'm just lining up my card blank to measure exact size so that I can just make my red card just slightly smaller to give it a bit of a border. And then I'm going to make another white panel to fit on top of that again, just adding to the layers for my card here. Just using my trimmer to again trim that down and just measuring up the sizes of my red panel now, so that I can just make sure that I get everything the right size that I want and the same sort of border around everything. So there we go, I've just got a tiny little red border there, and I'm quite happy with that. Now I'm going to lay the things out that I want to put on the card, just so that I can mark roughly where I'm going to need to die cut out. So I'm going to line this up and try and get that central O or oval in the middle there. And I'm just going to run my pencil around the outside there, just so I can see roughly where I want to put my die. And again, I'm going to use the slightly smaller one for this, because I just want a window, and then I want that frame to be able to sit on top of it once I've cut it out. So I'm just lining this up roughly with that circle that I drew, and then I cut it out using my die cutting machine. So again, I'm just checking that everything is still in the right place and where I want it to be. And now I'm going to stencil over the top. I'm literally just using the ink that was still on my brushes here, and I'm using the Feeling Mighty Pine stencil, which is from Heffy Doodle. This was quite simple to use, and I'm just literally again using a slightly different colour, just using my yellow brush, but again just literally using what was already on my brush to go around the edges, all the edges, and just give it a little bit more texture to it. So now I've done that, I'm going to use this bit of acetate here, and I'm just going to very roughly cut the right size, because I just need it to cover that hole and have enough space either side for me to put a little bit of tape to hold that down. So I'm just again double checking the size, and then I'm getting some strong tape to be able to put around this and tape it down. I'm just double checking that that is actually going to fit around that oval and still stay within the size of the card. And I need a thinner bit for that bit there at the bottom, so I just got another bit of thin tape there. Just wanted to make sure this was nice strong tape so that it definitely is going to hold. And there you can just see I've just made that acetate a little bit too big, so I'm just trimming off the edge. So now we've got our window kind of done. I'm just going to put a border around this as well, just using this fine liner pen. And I do these by eye, but you can measure them out. I tend to, as you see, when I get to the nearer the end of the line, I do like putting in the dots so that I can just space them out, or make sure that they're spaced out relatively evenly by the time I come to the end there. I'm just going to do this all the way around the edge, just to give it, again, another little extra bit of detail and just give it that extra little level to it. So now I'm just going to stick everything on the front while it's still nice and flat. So I'm going to take my glue, and I've been trying out this Barely Arts glue lately. It's my first sort of playing with it, but I like it so far. What sort of adhesive do you like to use? It seems to be quite nice and strong, and it dries. It gives you just that little bit of wiggle time, but not too much, so it dries quite nice and quickly, which is ideal for this. And again, I'm just making sure that everything is still lining up where I want it to be, and with some nice edges to it. Now I'm going to make the actual shaker. So I've got a little bit of card there that I'm just going to use to cover the back once I'm done. I'm going to take this foam tape. This roll is brilliant. It's quite thick, so it gives you a nice depth to be able to hold all your shaker pieces in, and you just want to make sure that it definitely goes all the way around and there's no gaps in it. And then I'm using this thicker foam tape, or wider foam tape should I say, to just go around the edges, and I'm going to double that up because it's not quite as thick as that foam tape in the centre there. So I'm just going to double it up to make it a bit more even across the card. Now I'm going to take my sequins, and this Mistletoe and Holly mix is just gorgeous. There are so many little bits in it, these little holly leaves. I'm just going to make sure that they're all facing the right way so that they are forward, so when you have the shaker card open, you're going to see everything really nicely there. There's all sorts of different beads and things in this. I'm going to take out these slightly larger pearls, just because I don't really want them in there. They were just popping up just that bit too much for my liking. So I'm just going to fish those ones out. I'm going to leave the smaller ones in, but again, I'm going to make sure they're all turned over so that that nice pearly side will be what you see when you're looking at the front of the card. And there's some little red pearls in there as well. So again, I'm just doing the same with those. Taking out all the slightly larger pearls and leaving everything else. Now I'm going to take the backing off the foam tape, and I'm going to put that white piece of card on the top there, just to hold everything in so it won't go anywhere. And now I'm free to be able to stick this down. And I'm going to put just another little bit of tape in between here, just again to hold the whole front of it quite nice and sturdy. And so I'm just pulling everything off. And again, I'm then going to use the Barely Arts glue. I'm just going to stick down the backing here so that my layering is on and in place and nice and centered. Then I'm going to stick some of the Barely Arts glue across the tape as well, just because it gives it a little bit more of a wiggle room, and it will just make sure that it guarantees it's held nice and tight there. So then I'm just having to lean over to make sure it's centered. And there we go, beautiful little shaker. Now all we need is to stick my little Mrs. Claus in. Again, using some more of the Barely Arts glue there, and just sticking her on the front. Such a fun card. Now for this one, I'm going to use dark blue because it matches up with my snowman, and I'm using a DL sized card, which is like a slimline card. Again, I'm going to mark out where I want that oval to be, making sure that I can fit the other letters in. This time around I decided to do again the circle, but show roughly a centre point, just because when I did it before I couldn't really see properly where I was putting that die, so this helped me centre it a bit better. This time around I'm using a different Heffy Doodle stencil. This one is called Feeling Frosty, and again I'm just using the ink that's still on my brush. This time around as well, I'm only going to ink up across the bottom of this panel just to give it a slightly different look, so it's going to look like the blue is just rising from the bottom of it. Again, I'm going to stick on a bit of acetate to the back here just to hold all of those little shaker bits in and be my window that you see. And again, I'm going to be using this strong double-sided tape to put this down. And I'm just taking the backing off again And this nice strong tape will just hold this acetate sheet down for me. And then I messed up because I started putting the foam on first, but never mind. So again, I'm using this thicker foam tape to be able to create the window and hold all of my bits in there. And then I'm going to use this slightly wider foam tape to just cover the whole back and make sure that that whole panel is nicely supported. This time around I'm doing things a slightly different way, and you can do it whichever way works best for you. I'm going to use just the one layer of this wider foam here and go right up to that oval window, get as close to it as I can and fill in all the gaps. Now I've realised that I should have stuck these on the front, so I'm going back to that again using the Barely Arts glue. Again, I'm just using this oval that I've done to create a frame around that window I made, and then sticking these letters on. Now, for taking part in this YouTube hop today, you can stand the chance of winning the entire Sweet November stamp Christmas cheer release. So that is 12 stamp sets and both of these sequin mixes that I'm using here. They really are beautiful mixes, and as you'll see, this one's just as gorgeous. It's got lots of snowflakes in it, which again I'm just making sure are facing the right way, because they have got a bit of embossing on them, and these little Merry Christmas words, which again I'm just making sure are going to lie the right way round when they're in that window. And again I'm just putting everything in and filling all the rest of it in, and I'm just using a bit of scrap card again just to cover the back of that window and make sure that nothing's going to fall out. So I'm taking all the tape off and taking the backing of the edges of the tape there where the bit of card is going to sit, just to make sure that it sticks as firmly as possible. And I just took one out there just because it was sitting a little bit high. I got a little bit excited and put in a bit too many of them, I think. Just making sure that it shakes, and it does. So now it's time to get that Barely Arts glue back out again and just put on the layers, start layering the card together. So putting that nice dark blue card down, then again finishing taking the rest of the backing off the tape and using the Barely Arts glue to give me that bit of wiggle room and a bit of extra strength in holding this panel down. And I'm going to centre that as well. And then finish it off by again using this cute little snowman from the Christmas Minis stamp set. So everything that I've used here, all these little stamps and the shaker mixes, are from the brand new Christmas Cheer Sweet November stamps release. And again, by joining in this hop and following along, if you subscribe to everybody in the hop and leave us a comment and some love, then you can stand a chance to win this entire release. You've got from today, Sunday the 20th of October, until Thursday the 24th of October to join in. Thank you so much for watching my video, and happy crafting.